Hey, my name is Gary Dehart. I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant, and I'm excited to just talk a little bit more about our premium content programs called Be Insightful. The way the program works, just in case you're new to the program, the Be Insightful program. So it's an annual fee. It's retail. I always quote air quote retail. Nobody pays retail. Don't ever pay retail. Is like $5.99 through July 31st. It's $3.99. Again, that's for 12 months. Get you access to basically we'll have 9 training tracks. That's where we are right now. It'll probably grow because there is one track that we're missing that I really want to try to find the right speaker for. But these tracks are covering human resources, automations. We're doing tax practice management. We're doing app comparisons, migrations, kind of to and from QuickBooks products or to an ERP. We also have a coach's corner, your firm accelerated, which is really a sales focused session, niche marketing, tech stack, and then an app comparison. I may have already said that, but app comparisons is basically taking an app segment, let's say expense management, and we're going to have practitioners from within the profession review the apps they use and they're all using the same format. And so if I use Expensify, I'll fill out a sheet on Expensify that says, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's, X, Y, and Z. Then we'll take, somebody does Expensify, somebody does Concur, somebody does Dex, et cetera, et cetera. Then we'll pull all those together. So that's what the app comparison track's about. But ultimately, it's about helping people become more insightful about how they run their firms, about what they can do within their firms. And so we have subject matter experts who know a lot more about automations than I do or anybody on our side of the table does. And that's what you get with this program. Today, I've got Kyle Turriff of RLB Digital.
The sessions we're going to do include building an automation wish list for your firm. We've done automations for many bookkeeping and CPA firms. So how to build out that wish list and the tasks that you want to automate, as well as kind of go over what tools you're going to use, the decision to DIY or have somebody build it. And if you choose to DIY, we're going to go through how to build your first automation and even support you through that. Or if you already have a couple built, how to take those to the next level. So excited to jump into those things.
It's great. Now, are you going to dive into, as far as you did mention some of the tools that are out there? I mean, where are you going to go into, hey, here's if you need to do X, like one of the things you guys built for us was an automation to generate CPE certificates. And so, hey, if you need to generate, 100 tickets at a time or CPE certificates at a time, here's the best tool and here's the best process. Are you going to get that deep and that granular?
Yeah, especially at a high level of what automation tool are you going to build? Is it Zapier, Make, or Power Automate, and what's best for your firm and how you might make that decision? So where are you building this? And then depending on the automations themselves, as the participants bring us their wish lists, we're going to go through and give, hopefully some practical feedback on what are the best types of apps to do that. My hope is that attendees that haven't built an automation before come away from the sessions having built, by the end of it, having at least built or tried to build their first automation. And if you already have, or consider yourself kind of an intermediate, have an automation or two already built, and you want to take those to the next level, and helping you do the same.
If you haven't gotten your hands dirty and really sat back and taken the time to look at what you can do with these tools, I think you'll be wildly surprised at what you can do with these tools when you take some time, and especially if you have guidance from somebody like Kyle who can say, "Oh, why in the world would you be generating CPE certificates one at a time?"
The knowing
And
what's possible is the connection, and that's why if you ask somebody at the beginning of this process to build their automation wish list, it's very hard to put together, and it might be, automate my job, versus once somebody starts seeing themselves in the tool and has built their first, that's when the ideas start flying of, oh, you know what, we can do this, we can do that. We just got off a call with a client, which is exactly the same, was just introduced to automations, and the ideas started flying of the things and the apps that they're using and what could be possible. It really takes somebody embedded in the business to know that, but being introduced to the tool is what sparks that. So my hope is that people will start with an automation wish list, but throughout throughout the program, that list will build and become very much more specific and much easier to tackle.
So, Kelly, welcome. Thanks for taking a few minutes just to talk about what it is you're going to be doing under our Be Insightful program. Again, you're going to be talking about helping firm owners build out a tech stack. So, just give us kind of a high level of what you'll be working on.
I am doing the tech stack, as you mentioned. And the one thing that I'm going to start with is before you can build a tech stack, you really need to analyze your firm, where you're at, where you want to go, who your ideal client is. So we're going to do that the first week, and we're going to analyze the tech that they have. So it's navel gazing. And they're going to get some worksheets for ideal client and for what's going on in their firm. And then we're going to build their tech stack around basically where they want to go and what their firm looks like. We're going to talk about firm services, all the things. Then we are going to look at practice management apps because those are kind of the hub of our firms. And we're going to have, then we are actually going to go right into the third session is really deep diving on an onboarding tech stack, what that looks like. It's basically the same one for onboarding, for re-engagements and disengagements. So we're going to take a look at that. And we are going to do a worksheet on what their process looks like as well. So there's going to be some worksheet material for these sessions. And then the final one is going to be on cloud accounting apps. I'm sure everybody has picked their GL, but there's a whole world of cloud apps that form an ecosystem to bring better client experiences and rock solid financials to our clients in a super efficient way. So we're going to take a look at that in the fourth in that series.
What I like about it is kind of like you were saying, the Q&A part that really hands-on where people can come, bring their questions, right? Because I think the tech stack is, well, I know it's critical to firms and and it being set up and strategically thought through is key, right? I mean, we have a tech stack, right, in our business, but it wasn't well thought through, honestly.
Right.
And so it's just kind of Frankenstein's monster, right? We've got this and we have this. Oh, well, this does that for us. This does that for us. And it doesn't work as well as it could or as well as it should if on the front end we had given more thought. So that's really what we want to be offering and what Kelly's building out through the Be Insightful program is a well thought out plan for your firm, because everybody's different, but a plan for your firm that gets you the products you need by the time you go through this, 12 months process. So Janelle, can you give us just a high level of what you're teaching in this program and the Be Insightful premium program over the next 12 months, and then we'll deep dive into what you're covering in a couple of weeks.
The topics that I'm going to be talking about in the next 12 months, so every other month for the premium content, I'll focus on those today. The first one's coming up in a couple of weeks on the 23rd, and that one is going to be all about niche marketing. With our clients, we get this question all the time is, how do I stand out? How do I differentiate myself? Because essentially about 80% of accounting firms are selling relatively similar services, right? So how do we package that up? How do we look different? And how do we really showcase our expertise? And I've done a lot of work in niche marketing. I believe very strongly in it, such that even my business is set up to be very niche. I've worked with accountants most of my career, and we only exclusively work with accountants, which gives us a different level of, being entrenched in that industry and that business. So I'll be talking a lot about niche marketing. But one of the things too in this, I'm not going to just talk the entire hour. I want this to be very interactive. So we're going to make this fun. There will be some exercises and, as you said, Gary, handouts. So on the second topic I'm going to be covering, it's all about how to leverage AI for like the tools, some prompts. I've got an ebook I'm going to give away, how to leverage AI for being your brainstorming buddy for all types of content that you might create in an accounting firm, from client communications to marketing content. And then we're going to talk about organic marketing strategies, some framework for organic marketing strategies. A lot of times we'll get the question, it's not uncommon for a firm to come to us and say, I need to grow my business, or I want to double my business this year, or I want to grow this much in 6 months. And so it's really, really important when it comes to marketing and sales strategy to understand what your goals are, because that kind of determines that mix of organic marketing versus paid marketing, if paid marketing makes sense. So we're going to really deep dive into all the different types of organic marketing strategies you can use and what you can expect from them in terms of results and timeframes, because that's something that tends to be pretty confusing. Then we're going to talk about how to automate it, how to set it and forget it. Like, how do we automate these things that we put in place so that we can commit to a cadence and not get busy during a certain season of the year that we all know and love. And then the last two are, we're going to be talking about as, the population changes as business owners, more and more business owners are Gen Z, right? They're definitely millennials and Gen Z, but as accountants are a little bit older in the population, we've got to really understand how to communicate with these business owners. And it's not the way we used to. We can't send an email and expect an instant return. So we're going to be talking in the fifth one about tools for reaching your target audience and how to pull them into a conversation, and what the communication expectations are of the newer generations that own businesses. And then lastly, we're going to go into the paid marketing strategy. So there's a time and a place for paid marketing. It does not make sense for every firm, but it does make sense in some cases. And we're going to talk about what your options are and what's really important to know before you choose a strategy like that. And when and how to decide if that makes sense for you. So those are the 6 topics we're going to be covering in the premium content, and I'm very, very excited about them.
So pulling back on number 6 there, the paid marketing. So if you're not paying for marketing, and by that I'm thinking advertising, right? If you're not paying for that, you're probably having to pay to generate content. And you still may have to pay to generate both, right? I mean, if it's not a paid marketing program, I imagine you've got to have content as part of your overall marketing scheme. Somebody's got to produce that content, right? So
Yep.
So I guess my point is you may not be paying for buttons or clicks, but you're probably paying for content if
Right.
you're building out a really strong marketing program.
When you're talking about organic marketing, those are the things that you can do, either A, by yourself, with some coaching, B, or you can outsource that completely. And so if you outsource it completely, then of course that is one of your paid strategies, right? But then of course we're going to be talking about, ads and the different platforms for ads and what's important to consider, those types of things. And just kind of really helping to align expectations with what sorts of results can you expect from different types of marketing.
Let me give a little background. So at Scaling New Heights this year, Insightful Accounting kicked off our paid premium content. So we're basically moving to kind of a 3-tier model. We've got free content, which would be traditional, what's going on around the profession, what is kind of latest news, updates from vendor side, updates from, including some QuickBooks, some in Xero and the other general ledgers. Then we have a second tier, which is we're calling premium. And that premium is basically anything that you already have to register for. Most of our webinars, QB Talks, tax talks, marketing talks, that whole series of webinars, our Future Forward webinar, those are all considered premium. They're still free, but you have to register. So that's the second tier. And then the third tier is it's a paid premium model. Retail price is like $5.99 through the end of July. It's $3.99 to join, and you get a really cool T-shirt as well as some exclusive access to content. We're building this kind of in the air as we go. The program itself currently has 9 tracks. It's an app comparison track. We've got niche marketing that we have a tech stack with Kelly Parks. Murph is leading up a migration series, basically QBO to desktop, desktop to QBO, QuickBooks to something completely different, something different to QuickBooks. Christine Gervais is running a series on tax and tax practices. QB Express is doing a marketing and really more sales than marketing, Your Firm Accelerated. And then we have a human resources track, a coach's corner, and then effective workflows and automations. So our members, our premium content members, for again $3.99 for the first year, have access to these 9 tracks. Each of these tracks has a minimum 1-hour webinar, and then there's also a Q&A follow-up after each of those sessions, typically within a couple of days, where you can bring your questions and, hey, here's my marketing problem, or in your webinar you talked about X. What does that look like in my firm? How do I actually implement that? What does that cost me? Is where you can just really get some I can't say one-on-one time, but it's group time with the subject matter experts who will be speaking. All right. Well, we are looking forward to it. Go to blog.insightfulaccountant.com and you can learn more about the overall program there and register for it as well.